Welcome, everybody. That clock's a little fast, so we did enter on time. Well, maybe 30 seconds late, and I apologize for that. This is our regular meeting of council for April the 9th. We start by acknowledging that we are on the lands of the traditional territories of the Lekwungen-speaking people, who today are known as the Songhees, and the Esquimalt people, First Nations, and their historic connections to this land continue to this day. I also advise people in the audience that you are on video, live stream, and it'll be archived on our website. We have an amended agenda, but I don't think, because we've been given notification, we don't have to pass that agenda. That's correct. Okay. We have a number of minutes and that we have to receive and adopt, I should say. The first one is item number 2, which has corrected January the 8th minutes, and there was an error that was discovered at item 7, page 3, which has been, the clerical error has been corrected. So if I could ask
Move
for
receipt of January council, March 26th council, and special council of March 12th.
Second.
Okay, can we have that as an adoption then? I think, as opposed to receipt?
Your Worship, they would be adoption, yeah.
Yes, adoption. I thought I heard you say receipt, but...
Well, I meant adoption.
That's what I thought you did. Any comments or questions? Okay, seeing none, call the question. All in favor? Opposed? None opposed. Thank you. We have 2 councillors tonight who are ill, and I have brief remarks, and they're really touch on what's happened over the last little while. A great number of sad events that have befallen us nationally, regionally, and locally. I'm going to start by the tragedy that we all saw unfold in Saskatchewan. 15 people killed, most of them very young men in their prime, with the crash of the bus for the Humboldt Broncos. It's just an unimaginable tragedy. Our hearts goes out to the victims' families and the survivors, and we stand united with their community in grief. It is a reminder that the importance of community and communities coming together. Some of you may have seen and heard they had a gathering of the community, I think it was last night or yesterday, and how the community came together over this tragic event. We certainly, our thoughts are with their community. I understand that this Thursday, we were just advised this afternoon by our acting Chief Administrative Officer, there will be a request that we support the victims' families right across Canada by wearing any type of sports jersey for the day. The District of Oak Bay will participate in Jersey Day, as it will, as I understand, come to be known. So our staff has been invited to wear the jersey as support for the families and the community in Humboldt. This terrible, terrible tragedy. Thank you. At the regional level, over the weekend, we were informed that Chief Andy Thomas, 47-year hereditary leader of the Esquimalt Nation, passed away unexpectedly. He was an extraordinary, had an extraordinary connection with the heritage of the Lekwungen people. He was able to provide wisdom from the past, and he gave voice to a strong vision of the future for Indigenous people. He was a friend, and I know Council is deeply, and our community is deeply saddened by his death. He was certainly very active in promoting Coast Salish heritage and history, and keeping alive ancient Aboriginal teachings and rights passed down through the millennial. He was a personal friend. I dealt with him on many occasions, always respectful gentleman with integrity. And he supported our community in helping forge an important new relationship, which is critical for the future of all of us, not only in Oak Bay, but in the region and in Canada. And I know we worked together as a council in 2015 with the association, Oak Bay Community Association, Songhees people, and the Esquimalt Nations, and we installed Snowyeth, the welcome pole, at this high school, in spreading good energy. And it was a proud and important symbol of new beginnings and our journey of reconciliation with the students, with our community, and certainly with the Songhees and the Esquimalt. And Chief Thomas was there. His wife Marianne gave a blessing, very moving times for all of us. Chief Thomas will be remembered for his leadership and deep connection to his people and his cultural traditions. I found him always to be a very humble man, a very honest man, and a wonderful promoter of Indigenous rights and concern for the health and education of his people. I visited his nation in numerous times, and certainly he was a catalyst in engaging each other in numerous ways. We often talked about that together. And it's a profound loss to all of us, especially to the Esquimalt Nation. And our community shares with his family and the Esquimalt Nations an immense sense of loss in this. Our prayers, our condolences, and our deepest respect are with the chief's wife, Marianne Thomas, who I think we've all met, their children and their grandchildren. We'll be posting a statement on our website tomorrow. Thank you very much. And then locally, we were deeply saddened to learn of the death of a retired member of our fire department, Ken Gill. He was retired, but he had continued with the department as a chaplain. There was you may have seen, there was a tribute to him in the Oak Bay News, and I think it was the deputy chief who was quoted as saying he was an amazing man. I knew him. He was a friend. He was a supporter of the firefighters. I know he helped organize the special event recognizing first responders that we all took such great pleasure in going to and making that recognition. He'd been with us for 17 years, approximately half of his firefighting career. He was a man of great integrity, and certainly he was a professional through and through. And he just showed a wonderful, as chaplain, he showed a wonderful compassion and love for his fellow firefighters and members of the community. He was a selfless gentleman who gave much to others. He will be sadly missed. He was a member of our family here in Oak Bay, and we're deeply saddened. I understand there'll be a service for him, celebration of life on Monday. The chief I've asked the chief to say a few words about Ken. The memory I have with him of Ken is that picture that we see, but I have the real life memory of, there's a picture in the Oak Bay News of Ken standing by the fire truck, his arms folded in front of him. I think it was the occasion of his retirement, and a great big smile on his face. He was a wonderful man. We will miss him. Chief, do you wish to say a few words?
Certainly, thank you, Your Worship, and I echo the sentiments that you've brought forth with regards to this. We lost a husband, father, and a brother this week. And quite frankly, a great friend. And he was very significant to this municipality. He spent 32 years in the fire service. 17 of those years he spent with us here in Oak Bay. He was often mistaken as the fire chief because, quite frankly, he was the face of the municipality. He was always in the businesses, always with the developers, always with planning, and making sure that we were able to, make good negotiations and mediations to get to a place where everybody is safe. and able to, you know, operate and work together with everybody. He had this huge infectious smile. I don't know that I ever heard him swear, but there's a lot of dandies in the world, I found out. And it took me a while to figure out what that was, but I got it, and so far he hasn't and didn't call me one, so we're good there, at least not to my face. He was affectionately known as Mega Drill Gill, and the reason why is because he was so committed to the service. It didn't matter where or when. It was like, we're committed to doing this and providing service, and we need to make sure that we're ready at any given moment for everything. And that was a real key piece of who he was, and he was committed to this community. Certainly in his retirement, he took on the role as our chaplain and provided a huge piece of building our health and wellness program that we have here that is, you know, award-winning and remarkable, and really a big piece of leadership that moved us forward. So thank you.
Thank you, Chief. And could you remind us when the service will be and where, please?
Yeah, so the service will be at Glad Tidings on Monday, April the 16th at 1 p.m. And there's lots of room. It's a big church because there'll be lots of people. So he touched a lot of people in his life.
Yes, he sure did.
Thank
We'll
you.
miss him. Thank you. We appreciate that, Chief. We move on to, I had planned other remarks. I'm going to bring a few things up under new business, but I think we'll just move on instead. Thank you. Public participation period is an opportunity for members of our public to come forward for 3 minutes. State your name and the municipality, the topic. We'll time you for 3 minutes, and if you wouldn't mind printing your name on the podium so we know how to spell it and we know who you are. So thank you very much. Does anyone wish to come forward tonight? I don't see anybody. Thank you very much. Item number 6 is the Mayor's Task Force, an update. The public engagement. There was an update 6th of April, I think the date was. We have one member of the task force here. The other 2 are sick, and unfortunately. And is there anything you wanted to comment? The motion is to recommend it is to receive. Is there anything that you want to draw to our attention, Councillor Zelka?
Thank you very much, Chair. And I appreciate the opportunity to share, along with the entire task force, an update on what's happening. As the report is fairly self-explanatory. It describes how, with the input of the consultant, who's doing great work, she hails from Victoria, and she's worked with a number of the municipalities in the area. And one of the benefits, not only for her experience, but also she created much of the engagement process in some of the other municipalities. So in a good way, Oak Bay gets to not steal, but actually inherit some very good material. So the report basically just describes and helps to clarify expectations and just sort of share how we're moving forward.
Perhaps you can move to receive.
I would like to move to receive.
Thank you.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Now, further discussion from you, Councillor Zelka? No, I think you've covered it. Yep.
I think I've covered it. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from council? Seeing none, call the question. To receive, all in favor? Opposed? None opposed. Thank you very much. We have minutes from the Oak Bay Advisory Design Panel, March the 6th, yes.
Move receipt.
Okay,
Second.
moved and seconded. Thank you. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? None opposed. Oak Bay Advisory Planning Commission minutes, item number 8, again for receipt.
Move receipt. Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion? Yes, go ahead, please, Councillor Murdo.
Just a quick question through you to staff. Do we know, there was that discussion that happened with the design panel had some consideration, a number of changes to process and so forth. Do we know when those are going to come back to council or to committee of the whole for sort of more discussion to sort of formalize or to consider those more formally?
Ms. Jensen, can
Or
you answer
is
that?
there another step in there, or is it just being done?
Sorry, so just to confirm, you're talking about that report that came forward to council about reducing some, increasing some efficiencies with the way the applications were moving through the Advisory Planning
Right.
Commission.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we did have a little bit more of a discussion at the last APC meeting about how that would move forward. Essentially, we are just going to attempt to take some of the minor applications, some of the development variance permits forward to Committee of the Whole. We did have a discussion about the one that will be upcoming, and that seemed to match with what staff were thinking as far as the APC was concerned. So I think we're just going to try it and see how it works.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Zelka, please.
Thank you, Chair. A question through you to staff. The minutes indicate that the procedures manual is still in process, and that at some point it'll be presented to council. I was imagining that might be the time when procedures might change, but I'm hearing you say something different. If you could possibly clarify the steps and maybe when that report or that procedures manual might be available for us. Final version, please. Thank you.
The Advisory Planning Commission are still working on one final aspect of the procedures manual. The rest is complete. They are essentially looking at a checklist for themselves internally as to the types of things that they would look at as they're hearing about an application. Besides that, I anticipate it'll be coming forward in the very near future to council for their consideration.
Thank you very much. Another question, Councillor Murdoch?
Just to that point, I think I would probably like to see that report come to us before we start changing the procedures. If that's, I don't know if that's possible or not, but there was a letter written that I thought raised some good points about like determining what determines a minor or not and what that would look like. So maybe that if we had the full report from the Advisory Planning Commission, then we can, based on that, sort of do a final review of that at council. Is that possible?
Certainly possible. Would you need a motion to that effect, Mr. Jones?
Your worship, probably would be good to have a motion to that, because we actually thought at that meeting that we were kind of going down a particular road, but we would have, as staff, no problem to bring forward a report that would say here from staff's perspective what we heard at that joint meeting and how we plan to move forward. So if that's the wish of council, we'd be happy to do that.
Let's do that by motion, please. You go ahead.
Can I ask one question first? Would
Councillor.
that come to Committee of the Whole first then, or to Council?
I would suspect probably Committee of the Whole.
So yeah, I would make the motion to have the staff report come back, as well as the procedures manual as finalized.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? None opposed. Thank you. We move on to what is now the quarterly report of active land use applications.
Move receipt.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? No opposed. No one opposed. Sorry. Next one is the cash in lieu for Parkland dedication. There's a report there from our Acting Director of Building Planning as to how this comes about. There's talk in there, of course, of how the figure was arrived at. And there is a recommended motion that council accept payment in the amount of $181,900 for the land proposed for subdivision on 237 King George Terrace, with respect to 5% payment in lieu for parks purposes as per Section 510 of the Local Government Act. Someone wish to move that?
May I ask a question first?
Oh, sure.
I noticed that on page 1 of the reports, under the paragraph that says the Local Government Act, it says at the last sentence says the proposed cash in lieu payment of $195,000, but then you're actually asking us to, in the option it says $181,900. So can you just clarify that it is the $181,900 that you're actually suggesting we? Yeah.
You guys keep catching my mistakes. Yes,
Just shows we read everything.
my apologies. The last thing I do when I'm completing a report is to put together the executive summary, and unfortunately I grabbed the wrong number from the calculations. It is in fact 181.
Thank you. Councillor Murdoch, do you have a?
I'd move the staff recommendation.
Okay, moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion. Okay, go ahead, Councillor Murdoch, and then Councillor Zelka, please.
I guess I don't have a problem with the recommendation. I think this as a written policy, sort of piece in here, and my understanding is that we're working on putting together amenity charges, development cost charges, and so forth. So I think it's certainly worthwhile to have this as part of that whole piece. So again, just for the interest of the municipality and for developers and homeowners, that they also to know how much they have to pay on these sorts of applications. But I think the model chosen, where you're taking two different assessments and averaging them for the assessed value, is probably a reasonable one. But having that sort of more written out so we all can sort of see it would be very helpful as time goes on. So I don't have an issue with the motion as it stands.
Thank you. Councillor Salko, please.
Thank you so much, Chair. Through you to staff. My question has to do with the interconnectedness of the Parkland acquisition charges, the development cost charges, the community amenity contributions charge, and any development fees. I know we're doing some work on some of these, but I understand they tend to work together, and I would like to have some sense of where we're at and how do I say, so, if developers were to come forward at this point, are there certain charges that they're not going to be charged as a result of our not having policy in place? I just wanted to have some idea of sort of what might change once these other elements are brought into place, please.
So, Your Worship, I'll take a kick at this one. So, as it stands now, the district does not have development cost charges or community amenity charges. The requirement for Parkland is a requirement of the Local Government Act. Saying that, however, when there is a development that occurs, we do work with the proponent to talk about what types of things they should contribute as a result of their development. I think the goal of the community amenity charges and the development cost charges would be to provide certainty to both council and the public and the development industry, so they know going into a project what the costs of that might be. And I think most municipalities have those in place. Right now we're in a position where we kind of negotiate and say, well, we think you should do this and that and this and that. And they think, well, no, we shouldn't do this, or yes, we should do this. But really what we want to do is to provide certainty to everyone. That's good for the industry, and that's good for the community, and hopefully that's helpful to council.
Thank you. Councillor Salko.
Thank you so much, Chair. I'm looking for certainty is very important. And I do look forward to getting certainty on the DCCs and the community amenity aspects. I just wanted to ask one more question. With respect to development fees, I understand our development fees are fairly low. Is there any intention when those other two items, the DCCs and the CAs, are brought forward to relook at the development fees with respect to it, all four items working together?
So, Your Worship, we look at the development fees annually, and we do come forward at times to council and say these are fees that we need to increase. Those are quite specifically intended to cover the charge overall of us providing that service to the proponents. And in fact, the cost of providing those services is not supposed to the developer, is not supposed to exceed what our actual costs themselves are. So that's a constant process that we go through to look at those. The development cost charges and community amenity charges are a little bit different in that those are intended to capture in the terms of the DCCs the impact of a development on the community, and community amenity charges are intended to be something similar, saying that if you're coming into the community and you're increasing the density, traffic, etc., then you need to provide something back to the community in that regard. So I think you're right. I think one of the things that's important is to make sure that the combination of all of our charges are kind of consistent with what's happening in other parts of the community. And that is certainly something that we have our consultants, in fact, looking at as we speak.
Last item, if I may, please. Is the intention to bring these other items forward before the election or after the election, please?
Your Worship, I'll have to get back to you on that. I know it's being worked on right now. We do have consultants, but I'd be happy to provide an email to you with some suggestions of when we might have that for you.
Thank you. Seeing no other, Councillor Croft, please.
Thank you, through you, Mayor, to the staff. I see that the Parkland Acquisition Fund, we have a reserve fund for that has some money in it. This is going into it. But I can remember during our discussion of reserve funds, there was some talk about changing how we might be able to use that money for other purposes, or we just sort of got this money in a future Parkland Acquisition Fund, and there's not much land that we can acquire in this community, so I'm wondering if there's an opportunity to use that for some other things.
Through your worship, that's something we can certainly look into. We are somewhat restricted by the legislation, so I can look into that and get back to council.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I think we're ready for the question. All in favor? Opposed? None opposed. The next item is item number 11, new business. I had referred to two items that I was going to bring forward tonight, and I'll just refer to them now and then come back to them next meeting. I don't think we need to discuss them tonight necessarily, particularly in light of two councillors being away and sick. One is what the council may or may not want to do with speculation tax, taking a position on speculation tax. And I see that Sydney has done so. Other communities in British Columbia have done so, and I think Langford in their CRD has already done. So that's something that I'll ask to put back on the agenda at a future meeting. And the other is a result of two conferences I've been to recently, the Mayor's Caucus and just this weekend the PC Association of Police Boards, and that is the proactive response to cannabis legalization, which we anticipate in August or shortly thereafter, and what Oak Bay may want to do as a proactive step. Some communities are considering that in other parts of BC, and some are already moving ahead. So both those issues I'll bring back on the agenda the next time we meet as council. So just wanted to give everyone the heads up. Other verbal reports? Okay. See, yes, go ahead, please. Councillor Murdoch.
Thank you, through you, Chair. Nothing big happening to report, but just update for people here are the Heritage Conservation Area Working Group. So we're still continuing to meet monthly or weekly. If we missed a meeting, we're sort of doubling up to try and get through things. And there's a lot of stuff going there, both from the guidelines, the report structure, the boundaries of the HCA, the process for processing. All those things are still sort of undertaken. So that's actively underway. And just today was the official opening of the Shuanghuang I'll go that much. Shuanghuang is James Bay branch. I'm actually getting better at that, slowly but very painfully. And so that was the official opening today, and it really is quite a lovely branch. If you want to sort of see what a modern, bright library looks like, it's a pretty good example of one. So and now everybody's chafing at the bit to fix the downtown one, of course, because you have to go back to their dark offices. So that's it. Those are my updates. Thank you.
Thank you. The next item that we move on to is item number 12, which is development variance permit. This particular item has already been considered by the advisory bodies and, for that matter, the committee of the whole, and public notice was given and it's back before us now. And what the process is here is I'm going to ask for a motion. Once that's on the floor, I'm going to see if there's anyone who wishes from the public to speak to this. This was an item that the permit was issued. There were some issues about misinterpreting plans and some errors, and it caused a overheight building by 1 foot as a result of those errors. And we're being asked to in retrospect.
I'll make that motion to
okay.
approve the development permit for.
Okay, and that's to issue that development
Second.
permit. Moved and seconded. Ms. Jensen, did you want to give a very quick overview of that I've missed anything? I've missed probably a lot, but.
No, I think you covered it quite nicely. You are correct. It was a
Okay.
building permit application. The house was under construction when they undertook the survey at framing stage. They realized that it was overheight.
Okay. Any members of the public wish to address us on this issue? Is the applicant here? Okay, all right. You don't have to address it at this point. No members of the public coming forward. Any questions for the applicant who's here? Seeing none, any discussion at council? Seeing none, call a question. All in favor? Opposed? Not opposed. Thank you very much, and
Move
all the
adjournment.
best with that building. Move adjourn,
Move
please.
adjournment.
Moved. Seconded. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Not opposed. Thank you. Thanks, everybody.